Welcome back to another episode of Toxiris Discovers. Today we got the 46th episode. Well, I've been gone for like 2 weeks now. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. This is my comeback. I had a lot of shit to do recently, but now I should be back for good. I'm not guaranteeing anything because I don't want to break any promises, but I mean, you see this video, that's already a start, and I'm trying to drop Toxiris Discovers the next episode on a Sunday once again because this one is very late. Very late. More late than any episode has been so far. But anyway, let's get into the episode.
It's the gang, we done came on. The gang.
First project I got is the only project I found for myself. The other ones were all suggested by the community. That one being If Not Now, When by Russ. This is a very short EP, 4 tracks with one or two more sentimental ones and one or two more flex ones. It's really just what you expect from a Russ EP. You get basically the two moods all of his music is in, either very braggadocious or just kind of sad, depressed with a chill vibe, like something like that. As most of his music, at least most of the shit I've heard, falls into either one of those, and so does everything on this EP. I do think it sounds very good. There are a couple memorable bars, and overall I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Let's get to the next project, the first suggested by the community. Jesus. Six Kiss by Lil B, suggested by Kieran Cartwright. Well, this is the second Lil B project we had on this series, the second Lil B project I have heard in my life, and what can I say? Honestly, it's a good project, a solid one. I do think it has a couple different factors from the other one I've heard. For example, this project is a bit shorter than the last one I've had on here. It has less highlights, but is overall more solid. Like, it has less very good tracks, but also less trash tracks. Most of the tracks are at least okay, and there are a couple ones that are good. These two would be my favorites.
My new name is Space Guy, ice cream paint job, only come out in the dim light. Light a blunt, we can spark this dro. With the weed in my hand, let the Eagles go.
And overall, I can only say the project is pretty good. I do think the production could be better, especially looking at the other project I've heard from him. Otherwise, it is a pretty solid project. I would rate it 7 out of 10. The same I rated the other project, just for different reasons. Let's get to the next project. That one being Time of My Life, or Tomel, by Thousand Band Fawny, suggested by GGS. He actually explained how the name is said. I appreciate that, but I had some Thousand Band Fawny on the series before, and I don't know if I'm saying it right still. Anyway, I do think this project is way too long. First of all, it is 1 hour long, and if I want to hear 1 hour of trash ass crooning over mediocre beats, then I listen to Lil Xan. I do think it is better than Lil Xan. Obviously, it does have a couple enjoyable tracks, but no big standouts really. It's just most of the things just run by and are not really interesting at all to me. So I cannot really say a lot about this project. I'm just indifferent to it, so I would rate it a 5 out of 10. The next project we got is Suburb Baby by 94 Fatso, suggested by Matt. Never had you on here, but you got a standard ass name, Matt. Nah, I'm playing. This project was pretty interesting. I've never heard of 94 Fatso before, and I have to say that even though his voice tends, like the range in which his voice usually is, could be really annoying, and it is also really annoying sometimes, but most of the time he manages to use this voice in a very captivating way and make a at least very captivating hook, even though the verses sometimes lack a bit of interesting material. So I would overall rate the project. It's pretty short, it's pretty interesting, but I think that the choruses are really what stands out on here, these two being my favorites.
We ain't got 'em all. People coming around just wanna build problems. If you my dog, then I ain't finna steal. Full with dope bands, we don't need no friends. We got 4, 5 guns. I don't want loose ends. We just
I would overall rate the project a 7 out of 10. Well, let's get to the next project, which is For Life by Black Youngster, suggested by Zhao. I did not know Black Youngster was a Yo Gotti signee, but it does explain how their music sounds pretty similar. Just that Black Youngster is kind of better than Yo Gotti. I don't know. I really don't like Yo Gotti, but I don't know if I've ever heard a full Yo Gotti project. Anyway, this project is too long as well, for different reasons, because the Thousand Band Funny project had less tracks but was the same length. This project has 23 tracks and is about an hour and 8 minutes long, which means it had a lot of tracks that aren't really long, like about 3 minutes. And that's really how most of the tracks feel. Most of the tracks feel like fillers, and they just run by, at least for the first half of the project. That is the more, I would say, more dry portion of the album. Most of the typical Memphis sounding rap that I can enjoy that, but usually only the standouts or the more popular tracks, because I feel like a lot of this shit just sounds the same. But in the second half of the project, there are a couple more interesting tracks, a couple more auto-tune aiming tracks, and although I gotta say some of them sound fucking horrible, frankly, some of them sound pretty good, especially, for example, if he brings in some features, like for example La Kel. Like when he brings in features, those perform pretty well most of the time, besides 21 Savage, who really didn't have that much of an interesting feature. Anyway, I feel like the project has a couple interesting tracks. It is just way too long and has way too many fillers to get a higher rating, but I would say that some of the more interesting tracks carry it to a 6 out of 10. These two would be my favorites off of the project overall.
Hit it, new Lambo, I hit it, everything I want, I get it. I can't even lie, I ain't been the same since I lost my nigga G. Then my dog, I miss him, cut the retarded.
Then we get into Stranger by Young Lean, suggested by Syphic. This might be my favorite Young Lean project, or one, maybe not. I mean, I really like this project, at least the first couple of tracks. I feel like this project starts off really, really well, but after a couple of tracks, I would say about like 5 or 6, it kind of takes a jump and just jumps off a cliff and kind of goes down. Not that it turns into a horrible project, but the most interesting tracks are basically those 5, with a couple other tracks throughout the track list, but really the rest is not that great. And if this project would be more consistent, it would be easily my favorite Young Lean project. But since it has this inconsistency, it loses a couple points, but it's still a very good project overall. I would overall rate it an 8 out of 10, even though it has this huge inconsistency, just because the highs are really, really good and the lows are far from the highs, but not bad or something, just not as good as they could be. So 8 out of 10, these two would be my favorite tracks on the project.
Ice dropping, red bottom sky, intrigued by the moment. I don't care about money, so yeah, I spend it quick. I'm a real life mannequin.
With that being said, we get to the last project on this episode, on this comeback episode, which is Barter 6 by Young Thug, suggested by Lorsum. See, I'm not really sure whether I heard this album or not. If I did, it's a long time ago and I barely remember any tracks besides With That and Chick. But yeah, this project is really, really good. I mean, Young Thug is a very interesting artist, and I feel like if when you talk about Young Thug, Barter 6 is probably one of the first projects besides Jeffrey or the Slime Season series that gets brought up as one of his best. And yeah, what can I say? I did enjoy it indeed. I do think that a couple of tracks just weren't as good as I thought they would be, based off the hype this album is getting and has gotten over the past couple of years. I do think the features are pretty good, even features that I'm not the biggest fan of, like, for example, T.I. or Boozy Badass, or Young Dolph, rest in peace at this point. Like, he manages to bring good performances out of people who usually don't perform that well, at least in my opinion. But I also gotta say that Jack Wee's performance was really, nah, bruh, that wasn't it. Anyway, these two would be my favorite tracks.
100 been dropped on the head of any nigga wanted, man. Pop me a Zany, I'm fast, I'm so fast, I'm so.
All my aces, if you play, they make you greaty, baby. I might shoot you in your head.
And yes, I do think it is a great project, but I don't think it's as great as some people might make it out to be. So I will give it a 8.5 out of 10. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a great one, and I hope to see you soon when I upload a new video on this channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great one.
Remember back then, all them hoes ain't want me. Now I'm ballin', all them same hoes on me. Mama told me that this came with the money and the motherfucking fame. Even though I feel the same, I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now.